everybody. Welcome to our open conversational call. Some quick admin. I have a living agenda link for you all. If you want to jump in there, it should be editable for anybody. And we're going to run this in standard meeting practice format. So everyone can incorporate into the agenda as they'd like and as they see fit. So some admin details, this is recorded so that we can share it with folks afterward. We're ending at 2:30 Eastern, 1:30 Central, which is my time. And any other, and I'm facilitating, clearly. And Cecile is scribing. Any other admin details? Anybody wants to jump in popcorn style? Anything we should know? Like hard outs. I have a hard out. Anybody have to leave early? Great. And if that comes up, go ahead and just type it in there if you realize you do have to jump out for any reason. And then let's move to check-ins. So not everybody here knows each other, so let's do your name and welcome, Nick. We're doing this in standard meeting practice, just so you know. Everybody share their name, how about your location and organization, if that feels relevant, and what's been most salient for you in your personal development lately. And I'm gonna chat that living agenda one more time for the folks who just entered. And we'll start with Kayala, you're the first in my row here. Would you mind going first?
No, that's fine. Yeah, my name's Kayala. I'm here in the Pacific Northwest, Portland, Oregon at the moment. And personal development, gosh, there's like a lot of layers for that for me. Most of them orient around the somatic integration side of things, like just being able to be more really present with the different places where information is coming from in my system. So my like feeling sense, I've been listening to a lot more. Yeah, felt sense in my heart and body. So I'll check in with that. Yeah, I think that was all what you asked for, right?
Yeah,
there it is.
That was.
Organizations, there's too many to name, I think. Life, the ultimate network.
And then people can connect with you after if they want to hear that, or they can Google you. And Ellie, would you go next?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I don't think I caught the first side of that, but see, I'm Ellie. I am currently, last I checked, sitting in Montpelier, Vermont. Today's been a little bit of a whirlwind, so I wouldn't be surprised. I work for a food cooperative. We employ about 175 people and got interested in collab when a communication pathway sort of brought some needs to the process. And professionally, I recently went through a 10-week intensive cultural competency training. So a lot of my thinking recently is about using inclusive language, changing my implicit biases, noticing them, shifting things around in my own thinking, and knowing how to do that safely and kindly with others rather than being a jerk. Is there another question we had?
I think does that feel like enough for your answer with what's been most salient for you in your personal development lately?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
And Jan, would you go next?
Hi, everybody. I misspelled my last name when I registered. S-A-G-E. Kayala, do we know each other from Bright Future Network?
Yes, we do.
I thought so. Hi. I'm in Boston, where it's raining right now. And I currently work for a large healthcare company called Fresenius, that is a dialysis provider worldwide. And I'm just really reveling in the opportunity to bring what I've learned about leadership, collaboration, communication, and all the wonderful stuff from CoLab and from Bright Future Network into my work. And it's just coincidental that I'm being given more and more leadership opportunities, and that's just a really fun arena to play in.
Thanks for being here. And Noemi?
Hi, everyone. I'm Noemi Gushbens. Hi, Jan. I'm excited that we match. I am sitting in New Jersey. I am the executive director of the Cooperative Development Institute, which is a co-op development group in the Northeast. And what's been most salient for me recently with personal development, a lot, always doing the personal development. I think, one thing that came up for me recently is some interpersonal things involving me and also involving other members of my team. And so it was definitely interesting to think about, what the interpersonal could be helpful with, and then, using feedback for personal development. So, thinking about, if I'm not showing up the way I want to with somebody else, what is it that I could be doing differently? And how could I be, showing up differently so that there are different outcomes. So that's been really helpful. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks for sharing and for being here.
Sure.
And Nick?
I am Nick. I am at Railyard Apothecary in Burlington, Vermont, which is a herb store and herbal clinic. And I'm not sure how to answer the question. Nothing is really coming up for me right now, just with that prompt. So, yeah, maybe I'll pass for that question.
That's fine. If something sparks by the time we're done at check-ins, just kind of make attention.
Okay. Thanks.
And thanks for being here. And Brian? I know you're on your phone, so it's probably a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. I am outside of Boston in Lexington, and I am currently working in retail. I've been in sales and marketing and looking to make a career shift into something a little bit more personally fulfilling where I can contribute on a level that satisfies me deeply. And hello, Jan, and hello, everyone. Glad to be here. What is arising for me in terms of personal development, like Naomi had said, some interpersonal opportunities have arisen where I started the conversation with questions, and the conversation went pretty much as I would have hoped it went. So I was feeling that I was applying some of the things that I learned in CoLab and other areas and am integrating them into my own personal integrated theory. So thanks, Cecile. And that's me.
Thanks. Thanks for being here. And Jeanette?
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Jeanette.
How's it going? So I think for me, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, my name is Jeanette. I am in Philadelphia with the Philadelphia Area Cooperative Alliance. I'm a co-op developer. Something that's been coming up for me is like, I'm really quick to trust the process. I love a process, but thinking about how I can trust my process and like figure out, be connected to what I'm feeling and let that guide me beyond my checklist. So I've been thinking about that a lot lately.
Ooh, nice. Thanks for being here. Nice to see you. And Madeline? Oh, we can't hear you. Oh no. Okay. I'll let you figure that out. Sometimes when you're in a hurry with technology, it decides not to work. So we'll come back to you and I'll go to Cecile.
Nice. Yeah, totally. Let us know if we can help in any way, Maddie. And it's so great to see you all. I am sitting in the middle of a very wet and rainy central Vermont, and happy to be on this call with you all. I think the analogy for me with my personal development is feeling like I'm growing a deeper, more weightier keel to match the winds and the waves around me. So there's that sort of focus into what's most important, what's most grounding, what's most present, what's most ubiquitous throughout all of the chaos that is swirling above the waters. And that's, it's both comforting and also challenging to maintain that connection to my keel as the winds are blowing about.
I like the metaphor. Thanks, Cecile. And I'll go next. For me, I'm Rebecca, and I live in New Orleans, as most of you know. And I just finished my first year of a 3-year master's program, and I'm definitely feeling kind of the relief of having a break, and also the energy and like the realization of how just going deeper is just very meaningful. That there's a lot you can get out of a experience when you go through pages and pages of writing that that in the moment feel like a little redundant and like I already know what I'm writing, why do I need to write it? But then at the end of it feels really meaningful to look at it. And there's different understandings that come out of that struggle. So that's what I'm thinking about, struggle and learning. Great. And Madeline, how's your audio coming? I don't hear you. That's not a good sign. If you want to use the, oh, did I hear something?
I was just going to suggest doing the phone call in.
Nice. Yeah.
Because, if the computer's not working.
Right.
So we can be on the video with the computer and then on audio with the phone.
Yes, and that phone number should be in the email that was sent back to you through Zoom.
And I will also put it in the chat box in case that's helpful.
Oh, great. Better. So when you're able to, definitely come interrupt and you'll have a chance to check in even though it's a little late. And you can do so by chat if you'd like. So we'll keep on going then. We have an agenda here that I've put some questions. Cecile and I put some questions up here to ask Noemi and Jan as the level 2 students here, or graduates here. So but I wanted to make this as relevant to you all and helpful to you all as possible. So that's why I put it in this format of the living agenda. If you don't have that link, I can put it in the chat box again, ask for it. So I want to do a quick round to see what are the other tensions, questions, concerns, excitements that you might have that you want to put on the agenda, and then we'll all vote and decide where our time goes today. So let's see, the first person on my list is Kayala. And do you have any, I'll give you all actually a few seconds to read what we have already, and then we can see what might be there to surface. So I'll just give us a few breaths.
And Rebecca, can you please send to me in the chat the living agenda?
Yeah, reviewing what's there already. I don't have anything to add at the moment.
Okay, great. Nice. And I think that's enough breath. Cecile, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think Maddie might be on her phone now. Is that true, Maddie? Yeah.
Well, let me unmute you here from your phone. Okay, you're unmuted from your
Try
phone.
again.
Thank you, Rebecca. Sorry about that. New computer. I thought this was working, but I guess not. Anyway, I'm Maddie Siegel. I'm from Chocolate Hollow. We make dairy-free chocolate in Vermont. And lately, I've been working on connecting with similarly minded business people in the alternative business movement, involving cooperatives and some other structures as well, and looking to find commonalities between their missions. And it's challenging, and my personal development is not losing heart and being open and receptive to other points of view. So good to be here. Thanks.
I'm glad we can hear your voice. Thanks for
Me too.
Okay, welcome. So then
Thank
we'll
you.
keep going with agenda building. Ellie, do you have anything, any questions, any tensions you'd like to add to the agenda? Okay, great. And Jan, is there anything you'd like to add? I know you're speaking, but maybe there's a specific thing that's not on there that you'd like to share.
No, I'm good. I think this is a good list.
Great. And Noemi?
All good.
Nick?
I don't have anything right now, but if we have questions that come up, will it be possible to ask those later? Okay.
Definitely. This is not the end. Not your last chance. And Brian?
No. And I just want to say, I'm going to go get my eyeglasses because it's not working without my eyeglasses.
Okay.
Do what you need to do. I'll be back in like 4 minutes, okay?
Great.
Sorry, thank
you. And Jeanette?
Nothing to add, thanks.
Cecile, do you want to introduce what you have here?
Yeah, so a few questions that we've thought would be helpful are talking about what was most valuable in level 2, especially for Noemi and Jan, since they've been through the program. Also, question about managing your time. It is an intensive program, so how did that sort of flow in your life or not? And then any advice for others if you're considering taking this course, what might you have to offer as advice in advance? Those are my questions.
Great, thanks, Cecile. And for myself, wanted to hear from what you were hoping to get out of the course and why did you take such a huge commitment? And what did you think the length of it? That's something that is coming up in conversations with people. So I'm curious if there was anything helpful about that deep dive. And it looks like I have the length apparently was really important to me because I have that duplicated. But also, what are your, this is for Cecile, what were your goals in terms of creating this program? I know that you were kind of the center of it, and what do you hope to get out of the next one? Those are mine. And then Maddie.
Yes, I don't have anything to add right now. I'm here to listen. I'm considering taking level 2. it would be cool to take it right now, but it seems like it'll probably be the next one. But I'm still curious to learn all about it.
Great. Nice. Well, if questions arise for you, you can definitely ask them as well. So then we might not have time for all of this, so let's do a quick voting to hear. I want to hear from those of you about what's most important. So how about each person gets 2 exclamation points? Exclamation points means like we can't leave today without answering this in some shape or form. And as many stars as you want, meaning it would be really great to get to this, but I'm not sure that is like the most important. So, so that's 2 exclamation points for what you don't want to leave the call without getting some input on or some information on, and as many stars as you want. And if you're having trouble accessing the document, let me know.
And Rebecca, while folks are voting, would it make sense to share the screen?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay, you're gonna do that? As scribe, why don't I do that?
Yeah, that's better. I tried to share the document, so.
All right.
Great. So, okay. Some tensions being added. Make sure to put your initials.
Yes, not sure if we have the cormorant or the walrus or the wombat.
Great, I see some less movement. So Cecile, if you would put it in the order of exclamation points.
If everyone could move their cursor to the agenda, term agenda, or off the votes, then I can more readily see what we got for votes. Okay.
I noticed that we have some votes before the item and some votes after.
Yes, I'm gonna reorganize those.
Okay, great.
If I can. There we go. That helps. Well, look at that. Okay. So.
Do you mind putting that one that you're highlighting right now, Cecile, to the very top?
Yeah.
Great, awesome.
That's good. Okay, I think that's in order. And there's Brian's adding the question about ops reports down there too, which.
Yeah.
Great. So let's start at the top then. The question, that's my attention. And I'd love to hear from Noemi and Jan about what did you think about the length of the course being 30 weeks? And what was there anything helpful or maybe hard about this, such a deep dive for you? And whoever feels inspired to say something first can go ahead and jump in.
I can go. The length of time felt good to me because it allowed for a generous amount of time for mostly the personal development. It didn't actually synchronize with the team that the kinds of teams I was participating on and wanted to apply Collab to. So I didn't get as much of an opportunity to do the application. And given both the nature of human beings, how long it takes us to learn, how long it takes us to change, both for myself, I needed that time. And the little bit that I did with a couple of the teams I was working with, people change at different rates. And I think I change a lot faster than a lot of the people I work with. So it was a quite a sufficient time. And yeah, I think let's see, make sure I'm answering. The fact that there was an opportunity to deep dive into a personal development project, just, I think anyone would need that amount of time for it to really embed, practice, and stick.
Thanks, Jan.
Yeah, I agree that the length of time was good. I mean, within our group of 5 people, there were changes in jobs, there were dramatic developments within our teams, there were, there were challenges of various kinds. So it felt like in those 9 months, we really, we got to actually have situations where we needed to apply what we were learning, which always makes it more real. It's easier to kind of say, oh yeah, this makes sense on paper. And then when it's actually like happening and you're like, oh, okay, yes, we have to really deal with something. So I think having that length of time kind of allowed for that real life stuff to come up. And honestly, I mean, I think when we got to the end, I would say nobody was glad to leave, although I think it was also like, wow, that was a big thing. So maybe we do need a break now to kind of, like Brian was saying, integrate. Yeah, it didn't feel too long at all.
Nice. And I want to open up, thanks for sharing, both of you. And I want to open up the floor for any follow-up questions that people might have. If there was something that was said or something that you didn't feel like was answered in that.
I guess I should also add, I feel like in our cohort anyway, we were sort of much more effective on the personal development side of things. And perhaps it's because of what Jan mentioned about not every team being at a place where like all of the other collab conversations could straightforwardly be applied. So I feel like, for those other conversations, they were maybe treated with not as much depth as the personal development thing that got plenty of depth and was really robust.
Yeah. Nice. So anyone just kind of unmute yourself. I did mute people at some point. Maddie, I think you're raising your hand. I'm gonna unmute you. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I had a question for both of you about the personal development side of things. Could you say more about that? Like how that related to the work with Collab? Like, was it specific to the work or was it in general?
So Collab has a specific sort of personal development framework that is part of it. And so we spend a lot of time sort of learning, what some of the different theoretical lenses are. Oh, you could see things this way and you could see things this way. And, so we're kind of, trying on all those different lenses. And then the personal development work was a lot about like, oh, well, if you think about it through this lens, what stands out to you? And if you think about it through this lens, what else becomes apparent? And there's a certain methodology of the the personal development work. So we didn't do the whole thing all at once, but we took it sort of iteratively, where we went through part of it and figured that out, and then did it with a little bit more. And so, people were able to apply the personal development cycle several times and come up with sort of new results, new things to try, new insights. And, every other session we would check in on that. And sure. And I think it, part of what I like about CoLab is it doesn't pretend that people are like half work and half personal, like that we're actually whole people. And so like what's happening with ourselves personally is what's happening with ourselves at work, and vice versa. So, I kind of appreciate that approach, that it's there isn't any kind of artificial separation. It's just both and all the time.
Perfect. That's a perfect segue into the point I want to make. Agree with everything that Noemi said. And there's a bottom core need that each of us has to be all that we can be, and then bring that to the professional work that we do. So as Noemi says, there's not a division. To me, there's a foundation laid. And so much of leadership training, or, any kind of business skill training, seems to be all about it from here up. And, involving your heart and your body and your whole being, and being aware of that as in your effectiveness with people, in how you influence people. I have an easy model that I'm working with. I do leadership development training, and we want leaders in this company to be able to lead, and these are a little misleading, up, that is upstream from their role, downstream from their role, and across at their level to their colleagues and peers. So it's a 360-degree leadership. But what's in the center? Everything comes from the center. Self-development, self-leadership has to come first. Or how can you begin to be emotionally and intellectually effective with others? Does that answer?
Oh, very intriguing. Yeah, it does. It's very intriguing. Thank you.
Any other questions sparked from this tension?
Yeah, I was curious if either of you, Jan, Noemi, would feel comfortable sharing, like, what was a big nugget that you sort of left with around your PD work? Like, what shifted for you that you feel was transformative?
Sure. So I'll share that when I was starting level 2, I was actually super resentful and like, oh my God, I have to work on myself. This is annoying. I'm second guessing myself, enough as it is. And how come I have to be better? I like myself the way I am, or at least I used to. I was like sort of angry and resentful at having to work on myself and feeling it to be undermining. And thankfully, it was rather early on in the sort of personal development cycle that I kind of hit upon of like, wait, feeling good about myself can also be a goal. And so instead of, saying, oh, I should be more organized, or, some unhelpful thing like that, I should think, oh, I should be organized enough that I feel good. So I reframed it that way. And that was brilliant. Because, that's something I can hold on to for the rest of my life. Is like, yeah, I do need to be at least as organized as I need to be, you know, to feel good about my days and how I'm spending them. So that's gotten me through some rather difficult situations. Yeah, I would say that my other big nugget that came later toward the end of the course was I think it's when you hit on a really good metaphor, it's super helpful. So I was really struggling to find a good metaphor for a while, but I finally did find one that was good, where you know, I described my current way of being as a good student. You know, like, oh, I study and I know the answers, and if anybody asked me, I would, you know, be able to tell them, which is useless. No, not quite useless. There are good things about it, but it's a little bit under the radar. And so I just defined a new way of being as someone who was actually like a culture jammer, someone who could insert myself into situations and twist them to go a different way that I was interested in. So that, you know, getting up from my seat in the classroom and acting to change the situation was for me a really powerful new metaphor that obviously it's going to take me a while to integrate, but at least I've got it, you know, to hold on to. So.
Thanks, Noemi. How about you, Dan?
The metaphor is a powerful hook to hang on to. And when I got my current way of being metaphor, it resonated so deeply. I'm a turtle. I turtle. I draw in, I pull back, I hold myself very protected inside the shell. And I wasn't feeling like that's a good thing. So the self-acceptance shift for me was that sometimes it's great to turtle. I love turtling. It's a comfortable place to be. And the new way of being that I'm working into and shifting and accepting is that I'm actually a diamond. I have all of these facets that quite often shine brilliantly. Sometimes they just blind people. I've got so much shininess. And it's okay to be over the top creative in one moment and to go turtle the next. The turtle is part of who I am, and it's great. So the self-acceptance of all of my facets was a big shift for me. And as Noemi says, it's really comforting to remember that whatever I'm feeling, whatever I'm doing, wherever I am, and I'm not feeling great about, it's like, this is who you are right now. This is who you're being, and it's okay. It's just part of you. Like that.
Thank you, Jan.
Yes, thanks. Thanks to both of you for sharing. And I'm going to keep us moving. If you have questions, put them in the chat box for now. And the next tension is for Cecile. What was significant about the length for you? And this is a lot of questions in one. What are your goals for the upcoming cohort? What did you most get out of this last cohort? It was about 3 tensions in one.
Nice. You packed them in, Rebecca. Nice. Could I ask for a substitute scribe since I won't be able to talk and scribe at the same time?
I love to scribe.
Thank you. Awesome. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I guess I'll start with the top one. What was significant about the length? I think both Noemi and Jan touched on it, which is just that if we think about our both our personal development and our team development, being adaptive change. So change that is requiring us to grow into new shapes, right? Not just take a course in typewriting and learn how to type better, right? I'm literally growing my entire being. My team is growing its entire self into a new shape. That kind of change really does take time. It takes being really gentle, frankly, with ourselves and our teams in terms of at the pace of change that can happen, and allow time for that digestion to happen, and then to come back to it. And so the 9 months really was a beautiful sort of, you know, gestation cycle for that growth, that adaptive growth to happen, so that, you know, we're not looking for those quick fixes. We're really looking to grow into new beings and new selves, capable of more than we were before. So that's the most significant thing I think about the length, is it really gives time for that receiving and then giving back out and coming back in, and growing from that process. I think the second question, what are my goals for this upcoming cohort? You know, one of the things I've really seen in the level 2 cohorts that we've run is that there's a strength and magic that comes from who shows up for this journey together. It's a really deep and intimate experience, both personally, but also in terms of the teams we're working with and what they're all going through. And it's a bonding experience, and it's also just so magical and be delightful and see heartwarming to hear all of us contributing to each other's growth. So this truly is a cohort-based way of growing, and while as the key instructor I have certainly content to offer, you know, when it comes to the insights about our own personal development and our teams and what might be helpful, it's really a joyful collection to hear from that full cohort, and some really surprising and wonderful things came out through our interrelationship in that way in the last cohort, and I'm really looking forward to that, the new configuration and the new magic of this forming cohort. And the third one, interesting, I sort of thought about the third one, what did you most get out of this last cohort, as you know, something personal for me. And so I would say that for me, one of the biggest gifts was the honor of watching this transformation happen, both mine, because I also participate in the PD process. I'm not separate from you all in that regard. I'm really in the process with you all and participating, going through my own growth and revealing my own, you know, shadows and things I'm struggling with. And so it was really honoring to, you know, to watch that transformation unfold. And in the opportunity to hear how this transformation impacted people's teams, it was deeply satisfying to see organizations get launched. One of our cohort members, who wasn't able to be here today, essentially started an organization in the time that we had together, and that was really powerful. It was something he'd struggled with, sort of pulling together and making happen, and the process of being in the cohort supported him in that process. Also, seeing toxic power relationships being reworked into ones that worked. Again, those things can take time, application, patience, and being able to sort of watch that unfold was also deeply, deeply satisfying. And you know, fundamentally being able to participate in the ignition of organizations that are ready to make the shift from, you know, the downsides of autocratic leadership to the benefits of self-organization, including, you know, productivity, creativity, engagement. And then last but not least, in terms of my own personal topic, I feel like I chose a topic that was deeply important to me and one that I've struggled with essentially my entire life. And through the process of walking through the steps and applying the practices and coming back and being accountable to my, you know, this cohort that we had together, I was able to experience a whole new set of capacities coming online that really are currently still with me, and creating these synchronous shifts in who I meet, who's showing up, the kinds of conversations I'm having that I couldn't have had before. So feeling really much more potently activated in relationship to my own topic, which continues to be of importance to me, but it's no longer like this super like contracted space that I was orienting from before. So those are a few highlights.
Thanks, Cecile. And I am looking at the time, so I'm going to keep us moving. If you have a question, put it in the chat box, and we'll come back to it. But I want to make sure that these exclamation points get some attention, and maybe at the very end, we'll do this like partly webinar style. At the very end, we'll have some questions that are feeling strong for people. And so let's keep going then. Thanks for scribing, Jan. So to Noemi and Jan, what were you hoping to get out of the course? And if it feels like you have something more to say about why did you decide to take such an intensive course? You kind of answered this a little bit earlier, but if you have anything to add to that, please do. And I'll let you.
I think I can say it very simply. My life, it has shifted into a higher gear. I have more complex demands on me. I see that more is being asked of me. And I needed tools. I believe deeply that when you're ready, the teacher emerges, the teacher comes. This came into my life just at a time when I was making that shift. And I needed a deeper, more comprehensive, more connected to the shifts that the earth is making kind of set of tools and processes. And CoLab is that for me.
Yeah. So for myself, I think what I was looking for is CoLab really resonates with me. I think it makes a lot of sense. But sometimes there's this feeling of like, oh, this makes sense, but like, how do you actually do it? And especially in my organization, it hasn't been immediate uptake at all. So I think I wanted to understand it more deeply so that I could be a better practitioner. And have a deeper understanding of why it is the way it is and why it makes sense. And yeah, I don't think I thought about it really hard, actually. I think I just did it. It's one of my personality traits that I discovered in my whatever Enneagram thing. I can be impulsive.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Sometimes impulse can be the most motivating part of us. Puts us in places that we wouldn't always go to.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep us rolling. So if you do have questions, if they come up, just go ahead and put them in. You don't have to wait for a prompt. So we'll come to them. And to Jan and Noemi again, what did you find most valuable about your time? And you've been answering this also in lots of ways. So if there's anything you'd like to add or really underscore, that's welcome.
Yeah, I would underscore that it's really easy for people to get that there are 7 foundational conversations. And one of our problems is that we don't isolate them and deal with them individually, but they overlap and crash into one another. That and many other of the concepts, minimally sufficient and living agenda and, a lot of the tools, but I'm bowled over by the power of the concept of the 7 conversations, and I share it wherever I can, and it makes a difference for people just to understand that. I see Jeanette saying, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the 7 conversations are a super clarifying way of seeing what's going on in an organization. And really sort of treating each conversation as having its own needs in terms of how it's addressed, I think is useful because, as things arise, you can really be thoughtful about like, oh, well, what kind of a problem is this? There was a question in the chat box about how much of the course is focused on personal development. I would say quite a lot. I'm not sure if the format is going to change, but for us, we had 1 week of, more content, sort of the other conversations going through them, and then 1 week of personal development. And given that we had that much emphasis on personal development, I mean, I think that was probably what was most valuable to me. It was the opportunity to focus on personal development and, like Cecile was referring to, have that accountability of, well, I mean, people are going to ask, so I better give it some thought. So yeah, that was good.
Can I tag on to what Noemi just said?
Yes.
How often in your life do you have a dedicated time and a group of people that can help you grow in some way that's really important to you? It's rare. It's really rare. And that was one of the deep benefits for me.
Nice. Thank you. So I want to thanks both for sharing that, and I want to open up the floor for other questions. If you want to, we'll come back to Nick's question, but we're going to come to this tension at the bottom. Cecile, is there anything you want to touch on about the course and personal development? That question around how much of the course is devoted to personal development.
Oh, okay. So we're moving down here to any other questions?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, great. We might want to include Brian's question in that too.
Yes.
So I'll just bump that down there.
Great.
And yeah, so in terms of the PD, as Noemi said, we are alternating weeks between introducing, say, the purpose process and how do you do it, or the business model and the various components of the business model and what it means to do open book management, with a week on PD. And so the PD gets essentially half of the course sessions. And what I found was that it was really helpful, I believe, and Noemi and Jan, feel free to say more about this, but that having the time to sort of integrate the 7 conversation material and have time to apply it in your team in whatever way was helpful, as opposed to sort of lock and loading for the next week on the next conversation that we might be working on. So that time allowed us to go back to our teams and do some portion of implementing if that was possible. And not everyone had the opportunity to do that in between the 2 weeks in between, say, talking about purpose and how it worked, and the week after that, where we might circle back to it and see how did that conversation go. But usually at least someone did, and so we were able to learn from each other's experiences just as much in the process. And sometimes it was better to actually wait and sort of learn from each other a little and then apply it when the time was right for your team. Yeah, so did that answer your question, Nick, about how much of the course devoted to PD?
There's a nod. Yes.
Okay, great.
Nice. And Cecile, do you want to touch on, or Brian, do you want to share a little bit more about, it's phrased not quite as a question, but is there a specific question you have there?
It was just something that was kind of ringing in my mind as I have been reflecting on my experience with CoLab Level 1. And Jan and Naomi did speak to the interpersonal nature and the personal development nature that quality, the emphasis that runs through CoLab. Specifically, my question and my experience of the ops report is it's just so tight and it feels impersonal to me, but the focus of the program is moving the work. And I know that CoLab provides connecting points at the beginning and at the end of the standard meeting practice. And I was wondering, Naomi said it's difficult to implement some of these things. There's some pushback, and Naomi's getting stronger in embodying this knowledge. But my personal experience was, whoa, this is really cut and dried. And I'm a much fluffier person than that. So it's a stylistic thing that a group needs to get inculcated into their thinking. And I know that, after 10 weeks of going through this with Cecile, we did get into kind of a better rhythm and understanding of it. It felt more comfortable. It never felt natural for me. That's all I want to communicate, but I did hear what I needed to hear from Naomi and Jan. So thank you, ladies.
Yeah. Is there anything else that the three of you would like to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, no, go ahead, Naomi, you first.
I'll just say ops reporting, I feel, is like crucial and also super difficult to dial into exactly how you want to do it right. And, I've been working with CoLab for 3 years now, and sometimes it feels really like, yes, we got it. And then sometimes it's like way too detailed, way too high level, way too impersonal, it's a really difficult thing to kind of calibrate, but it's worth the effort. It needs to happen.
Yeah, I guess I would just add that for me, my experience is that having ops reports be done well really helps me build a personal connection with the other person, right? That builds trust that I have in them and they in me, and that appreciation of work seen. And so, back to Noemi's point, I think it does take quite a bit to actually, master it, quote unquote, or get good at it, especially as a whole team. And so it's aspirational. I think that it become much more fulfilling, perhaps might be the right word. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing that.
So we have about 2 minutes here. Both Noemi and Jan have offered their contact information that you all should have in your email already, as well as Jamie and Carolyn. So please take advantage of that. And if that's missing from your inbox, just email me. I'm happy to send it again. And Cecile will send the wrap, which will be the recording and any important links. There's no next meeting unless it happens to be level 2 or something else, community practice. And so let's do a quick close then. Since we're pretty short on time, maybe like 3 words about what you're leaving with. And we'll go in the order of attention. Oop. Thank you, Cecile. And looking at my document over here, Kayala, you're up first.
Ready for more.
Ellie? Oh, you're muted.
I was just going to say, ditto that.
Nice. Jan?
Connection, support, and caring.
Remy?
Curiosity, and hope and booyah.
Nick?
Perfect.
Thank you, everyone.
Mm-hmm. Brian?
That sounds very appealing.
Jeanette?
Really thinking about it.
Cecile?
I'm feeling delight and gratitude.
And for myself, I'm feeling super thankful for all of your time, and especially Jan and Noemi for coming today. I know you have plenty of things to do, and everyone does, so thanks for being here. So thankful.
Yeah,
That's way more than
totally.
3 words. And I'm unmuting you, Maddie, if you'd like to share a few words.
Sure. Helping facilitate democracy.
Mm.
Great.
Woohoo!
Well, have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. So good to see
Thank you
you.
all.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.